A magical dragon attempts a grand ritual to summon a goddess of legendary beauty and healing. But instead of a divine beauty, Kim Ajin pops out. Totally dazed, he figures he is dead and starts looking back at his old life. Vet school was a nightmare. He survived constant scolding and finally earned his official license. Then came 3 years of grinding for pennies while rescuing abandoned animals. After endless sweat and tears, he finally opens his own clinic, but it is struggling. 0 customers show up, and even the lights on his sign have given up on life. One night, as Ajin lies there drowning in debt and misery, a weird noise echoes through the room. Suddenly, he is ripped away from Earth and lands in a cave full of treasures and ancient magic. Convinced he is in hell, he demands to know why he was dragged down there. The dragon explains he was summoned specifically to treat a sick pet. Expecting some terrifying beast, he is stunned when those massive claws open to reveal a tiny, sickly fruit bat named Cullis. Seeing the dehydrated little bat, Ajin immediately switches into his professional doctor mode. He starts grilling the dragon about symptoms and how long this has been going on. The dragon proudly admits he has been taking care of Catalyst for 1 week. Apparently, keeping pets is the newest trend among the dragon elite. Hating owners who adopt on a whim, he asks if the bat has been eating right. The dragon confidently says he provides only the finest animal blood for his refined pet. Stunned, Ajin just hangs his head in pure disbelief. He just realized he is dealing with his least favorite kind of person. An owner who knows 0 about their pet. Frustrated, he explains that fruit bats skip the blood. Only vampire bats drink blood. Poor Catalyst has been literally starving for 7 days. Totally embarrassed, the dragon admits this is his very first time raising a bat. Ajin scolds him for not doing his homework and points out another major issue. This freezing cave is way too cold and could kill the bat after hibernation. The dragon protests that he cannot help it, he is an ice dragon. But Ajin insists this environment is still deadly for a tiny bat, feeling terrible. The dragon bows his head and offers a sincere apology to little Catalyst. He promises to find some fruit and return the creature to its proper home. Grateful for the vet's help, the dragon offers to grant him a single wish. He jokingly asks to be reborn as a filthy rich prince or some villainous heir. Confused, the dragon hands over his necklace instead, giving it directly to Ajin. It is a magical pendant that grants wishes, as long as your heart is pure. As the magical stone begins to glow, our main character assumes he must be finally crossing over to the afterlife. Just before he vanishes, he quickly wishes to return to the early days of Bitcoin. The dragon watches him vanish, then goes to find fruit, still totally confused by this strange goddess he summoned. Moments later, he finds himself standing in a crowded street, full of noise and the smell of food. Still confused, he wonders if he has been reincarnated or possessed. A fruit seller. Spotting his weird clothes, the vendor asks if he is a traveler visiting the famous market region of Bmore. Before he can say a word, chaos breaks out as a giant rabbit charges down the street, eating every fallen carrot. People scream and scatter, yet Ajin remains standing completely frozen in place. He is just staring at a monster, walking freely among the regular citizens. A local seller yells for him to run from Lord Belmore's pet. Then Ajin spots a little girl crying right in the creature's path. Without a second thought, our hero dives forward, scooping the child up just before the beast can strike her. As the giant rabbit lunges again, his pendant glows and a magical blue leash snaps around it. The crowd goes wild, whispering that he must be a powerful wizard. The fruit seller hugs her sister, realizing this traveler is definitely no ordinary guy. Lord Belmore arrives, fuming to see his precious pet tied up. Ajin explains the rabbit almost killed a child, but Belmore just won't hear it. Fed up, our boy tells him that the worst owners are those who ignore their pet's faults. He warns that the rabbit's bite could easily shatter a human skull. The surrounding crowd gives him looks of pure respect for his blunt honesty. Examining the beast more closely, Ajin realizes this is just a regular rabbit suffering from extreme stress and bad dieting. Belmore finally admits that his pet, Elizabeth, has been tearing out her own fur lately. Ajin warns that this stress is deadly and orders him to stop bringing her to crowds. When asked about her exercise, our guy suggests letting her roam free at home instead of spoiling her. Overcome with guilt, Belmore actually tears up. He admits that people ridicule him for raising a giant rabbit. But it's clear Ajin understands these creatures better than anyone. Belmore calls his butler, hands over a fat pouch of coins, and begs for future checkups. After offering a tearful apology to his pet, the Lord leaves while Ajin mutters that he'll never visit this place again. But then, the townspeople rush in, cheering and shouting praises for his heroics. The fruit seller thanks him for saving her stand and offers a big discount. Ajin says he's broke, but she points to the pouch. He opens it to find gold coins and bites one to make sure it's real. It's the real deal. A faint smile appears. Maybe he can finally open a clinic here and pay off his old debts. Now, Ajin welcomes all the candidates who showed up for the new job opening, jokingly hoping that at least one of them makes the cut. He declares that the interview is about to begin, a true game of life and death. For a moment, his mind wanders back to Lord Belmore. That lord actually came through, with land and cash, once Ajin decided to settle down here. Because of that help, the second branch of his pet clinic is officially open for business. Belmore even set up the shop for him personally. It's weirdly full of rabbit supplies, but our boy isn't complaining about free space. Honestly, having a powerful noble as a connection is worth its weight in gold. Work starts piling up for Ajin. But he realizes he still knows nothing about this world or the dragon that brought him. That beast promised a way home, only to dump him in this bizarre land and vanish. He needs answers, so he decides to post a hiring notice outside the clinic. Animal hospital seeking staff. Hopefully, he finds someone who can handle the technical side of things. Let the interviews begin. All right, you and I are watching Ajin today as he studies a long line of applicants. First up is Thomas, bragging about his noble bloodline and his perfectly strict parents. Our guy tries to listen, but the dude's massive ego quickly becomes unbearable. Next is Philip, claiming his family has been in the animal industry for decades. Sounds great, until he mentions the family business is actually a butcher shop. That is a hard pass. Ajin immediately crosses him off the list. Honestly, you and I are probably wondering if any normal people even live here. Candidate number 3 steps up, looking pale, shaky, and totally suspicious. He looks like total trouble. Our guy tries not to judge by appearances, but his gut is screaming. Then the man suddenly faceplants into the floor, desperately begging for the job. Yeah, that is it. Ajin decides right then, judging by appearances is officially his new policy. Suddenly, a young woman steps out from the crowd before he can say anything. Without a word, she decks the creep, sending him flying across the entire room. She introduces herself as Selena, a wandering animal expert with some medical experience. Her ice-cold composure and raw confidence leave a massive impression. Ajin is sold. He hires her instantly. The next afternoon, our guy is chilling inside his cozy new clinic, enjoying the warm sunlight streaming through the window. It is already noon and Selena is missing. Maybe he rushed the hiring process. He is about to post a new ad when he hears a sudden knock. He expects his assistant, but finds a total stranger standing at the door instead. Moments later, the man sips his tea while Ajin smiles politely. Inside, though, we know he is celebrating. Finally, his very first customer, the first step toward paying off his massive debt. He remembers his old clinic, which failed because he could not control his temper. He still vividly recalls screaming at a client who would not brush their dog's teeth. That outburst ruined his reputation, branding him as the world's most insane vet. Not this time. Ajin is determined to stay calm, smile, and charm the cash out of everyone. Bringing it back to reality, he asks about the man's pet. The stranger grins and pulls a tiny lizard named Pajak from his pocket. Finally, Ajin feels a sense of relief. For once, it looks like a totally normal, everyday creature. No bizarre monsters or magical beasts this time, or so he thinks. That relief dies when the guy admits he kept pulling the tail until it snapped. Ajin holds back his rage and focuses his attention on the poor lizard. Pajak's skin is dry and inflamed, obvious signs of a really bad shedding cycle. When he points this out, the owner warns him that Pajak is aggressive. He is not kidding. The little guy proves it instantly by blasting a stream of fire at our boy. Before he can move, Selena kicks the door open and shoves him out of the way. Intense flames scorch the wall right where he was standing. Dazed and bleeding from the mouth, Ajin grumbles that the hit might have hurt less. He regains his footing and realizes his first patient is a salamander, a fire-breathing lizard you cannot handle with bare hands. Now he is wondering if they even have fireproof gear in this place. Meanwhile, the customer stares dreamily at Selena. He starts calling her beautiful, ignoring the serious questions about where he found the little creature. Right now, he boasts that he found it on the mountain behind the village, claiming it was love at first sight. Selena warns him that keeping a salamander is illegal since they are endangered due to hunting. She tries to help, saying they can claim it is just a temporary medical case to stay safe. The authorities might let it slide as long as he releases the animal when it is healed. But the man just hugs Podge tighter, tears streaming down as he refuses to let go. Suddenly, he bolts for the exit, screaming that nobody is going to separate him from his precious salamander. Ajin just stands there in shock, staring at the empty door. Then, right after that, Selena hesitates for a second until our boy finally snaps at her to go after him. Just like that, the clinic's very first examination turns into a total mess of a chase through town. A perfect start to yet another crazy chapter in Ajin's brand new life. The fruit stall lady, who was just humming about how peaceful things are without the Lord Reverend, only to realize peace never lasts. She ducks behind her stand as the chaos flies past, deciding it is best to stay out of it. The man sprints through the crowd, clutching that creature to his chest with some kind of desperate determination. Our boy follows behind, totally out of breath, but he is not giving up. The lady watches the madness and mutters that whatever is happening, she wants no part of it. The runaway grumbles in a panic about how people are trying to steal his Podge. Our boy and Selena keep up the chase until exhaustion finally starts to win. Catching her breath, she says Ajin needs more exercise, then shifts her focus back to the salamander's urgent condition. He admits the creature's molt has layered up dangerously and needs help fast. Selena's face goes pale as she remembers the danger. If a salamander fails to molt, it will eventually explode, destroying everything with its inner fire. No time to rest. They have to find that animal before a disaster happens. Meanwhile, thinking he is safe, the man gets home. Relieved, he puts Pajak on the table, calling it fate that they are together. He gets so happy that he starts to sing, letting a very strange melody fill the air. Right then, panic hits when the body of Pajak starts shaking and bursts into flames. In seconds, the home is on fire. Coughing in the smoke, he tries talking to the salamander, reaching out as if affection could somehow stop the fire. Pajak answers with a fiery blast, and the flames only get stronger. Selena arrives just in time to pull the man away, while our boy stands against the heat, determined to stop the creature. He is really wishing he had a fire extinguisher right about now. Then his pendant glows. When the light fades, Ajin finds exactly that in his hand. No time to ask questions about this miracle. He rushes in, spraying the flames until the salamander stops fighting and the room goes quiet. Except for the sound of steam. As the fire dies, Selena checks the area. Meanwhile, the man sits in the mess, muttering that the failed molt must have caused the whole disaster. He keeps insisting he will take better care of Pajak next time. Pure, misplaced affection. Ajin watches him in silence, wondering if this guy even knows what true care looks like. Love without understanding, Ajin thinks, is just selfishness wearing a mask of devotion. Later, deep in the forest, Pajak has finally finished molting. Selena notices how lively it looks now, but our main character, He is just staring at its massive size. With bittersweet pride, the man looks at the salamander and whispers that it is time to let it go. He watches as Pajak disappears into the trees, whispering promises of love and memories that no animal could ever truly understand. Ajin rolls his eyes. This sentimentality will definitely bring trouble, but the man is too distracted to notice. To him, this farewell feels incredibly noble. Suddenly, the moment takes a tender turn. Pajak pauses on a far rock and launches a massive fireball straight into the sky. The flames explode like radiant fireworks, painting the dusk in brilliant colors. The man stares up, totally overwhelmed by emotion. Meanwhile, our boy quietly realizes the treatment is finally, officially complete. Days later, the man shows up in the town square as Roya, playing guitar by the fountain. Kids dance around him while he sings a wild song all about Ajin's epic adventures. The song spreads everywhere like wildfire. It lifts the spirits of everyone who hears it. Selena watches from afar, half amused, while our main character stands there, totally unimpressed yet curious. Once Ajin hears people wanting to bring him their pets, he actually starts praising Roya's singing. But soon, the consequences finally arrive. A crowd so massive forms outside the clinic that it blocks the entire street. Dozens of people scream his name, desperate for treatment and attention. Our main character sits there frozen, his quiet days officially over. Selena looks at the endless line and grumbles that she should just quit. Through all the noise, Ajin realizes his small clinic has now become the busiest spot in town. Just a normal morning. Birds are chirping and a massive line is already at Ajin's door. He finishes one checkup and tells the owner they are done, advising a follow-up later. Selena stands right there, remarking that at this rate, he will be a corpse by next week, so he should earn while he can. He calls the next patient, thinking about how his second clinic has been thriving for 2 months. And we can partly thank those cheerful morning birds. Those first days were brutal with so many customers, but the high earnings made it worth it. Eventually, things settle. A customer pokes their head in to see if they are still open. Selena immediately says they are closed, but Ajin lets the person in regardless. As he treats the patient, our boy thinks about everything he has learned here. Outside, people are chatting. One mentions that their pet, Coco, has not been eating. Another person points out a cat's bloodshot eye. Dogs and cats are close to humans here, but their sicknesses can be totally different. Later, Ajin stretches out, noting that the day was absolutely exhausting. Selena says the next case is the last. He asks what it is, and she answers it is a shaman. Once used for hunting, they are popular pets. But they are aggressive to everyone except owners, so they get abandoned the most. Our protagonist grumbles that people who buy pets, just for trends, should simply vanish. He recalls hearing that shamans can grow as tall as a human torso. They come with claws and teeth sharp enough to shred a wild boar's hide. Selena warns him to stay alert. Meanwhile, the next customer brings in a shaman pup, visibly exhausted at 2 months old. The owner says it's been limping. Ajin examines the leg, noting a puppy this young should have healthy joints. Checking the paw, he finds a sharp thorn lodged deep inside. He removes it with tweezers, disinfects the wound, and promises it will heal. The little shaman wobbles around while Ajin watches quietly as Selena looks on, mildly curious. As the owner leaves, Ajin lets out a heavy sigh of relief. He says the day is finally over, while Selena notices he looks happy. He's puzzled when she asks if it's the puppy or the shift ending. Selena teases that it's rare to see him happy about something besides money. Ajin replies that none of today's patients were seriously hurt. He explains the hardest part of being a vet is seeing sick animals. The more he cares, the more it hurts, so he tries to stay detached. His thoughts wander back to a customer from his old world. Someone who left their pet for an extra month just for a vacation. He recalls scolding them and realizes that's when he started lecturing owners more often. As closing time approaches, Selena notes that it's finally getting dark. Ajin mentions the crowd of customers and tells her to hurry before sunset. Just then, that man from the interview appears outside, shouting for help. Ajin turns to Selena, asking if she can handle exorcisms. She responds that maybe she could, if physical attacks actually worked on spirits. Suddenly, the man bursts in, grabs Ajin, and literally drags him out the window. Selena is left speechless. Later, Ajin lies on the ground while the man apologizes. He insists he didn't expect our boy to be too out of shape for a hill. Gasping for air, Ajin demands to know who he is. Realizing he's no ghost, the man introduces himself as Schwinn. He is an administrative civil servant for this territory. He explains he brought Ajin here after hearing about his talent for calming the Lord's rabbit, then asks him to catch a stray. Ajin refuses instantly. He's a vet, not some animal rescue worker. Selena appears nearby, adding that they definitely aren't a rescue team. Schwinn insists they are the only hope left. 2 months ago, a stray took over a spot on the mountain right where construction is starting. They have tried everything to catch it. But the dog is too fast, and construction starts the day after tomorrow. If they can't capture it, soldiers will be sent and the animal killed. Ajin falls silent before finally asking where the dog is located now. He clarifies he's never caught animals and only wants to observe. Schwinn agrees, leading him up the mountain. Ajin reminds him he hasn't said yes. He's strictly there to take a look. Not long after, Selena smiles, knowing he's definitely going to do it anyway. At the site, Schwinn points out the stray's spot. Then, a shaman emerges. Ajin recognizes the creature instantly. Selena points out that while many people take in shamans, just as many end up heartlessly abandoning them. Keeping these creatures has simply become a popular trend for people to follow lately. But most end up forgotten. Looking at the shaman now, Ajin can see its tragic state. It has been surviving alone for 2 months, probably without a single decent meal that entire time. Just then, a strange noise echoes from the trees, spooking them. Thinking it is a monster, they freeze. Ajin turns toward the sound, just as the shaman shrieks and lunges straight at his throat. Selena moves instantly. She pulls him back, warning that staying this close to an unstable creature is pure suicide. Ajin knows that running from an enraged beast is the worst mistake anyone could ever make. Selena argues that staying still just gives the animal a chance to tear them apart. But Ajin explains that running will only trigger the creature's hunting instincts. They need a distraction to break its deadly focus. Before he can act, the shaman suddenly stops and goes completely still. The sudden silence is chilling. Ajin watches the beast, wondering why it just gave up. Schwinn called it a hunting dog, and a real hunter, once provoked, would never back down this easily. Yet, right before their eyes, the animal quietly disappears back into the shadows. Selena huffs, muttering that you can never truly know what a dog is thinking. Meanwhile, Schwinn explains how the beast has been terrorizing local travelers. Its behavior is such a problem that villagers nearby are constantly demanding something be done. Ajin listens quietly, his mind racing as a strange curiosity takes hold. He asks what exactly these complaints are all about. Schwinn explains that the locals see it as a vicious beast roaming the mountains, a dangerous threat they want caught. Meanwhile, Ajin thinks it over, then asks if this vicious monster has actually ever hurt anyone. Schwinn starts to agree instinctively. But he stops, forced to admit that not a single person has been injured. Turning to Selena, Ajin recalls her talking about the absolute loyalty of shamans and asks if she still believes it. Selena confirms she does. Ajin's expression shifts. It looks like the final piece of the puzzle just clicked. The next morning, Ajin and Selena head toward the small village at the base of the mountain. Their focus shifts from the stray to uncovering the real story behind it. Now, let's watch as Ajin goes to find the dog's former owner. He believes that the dog's past is the only way to reach it. Time is short, and there are definitely easier ways to handle this. But he knows that simply using food as bait will never work here. That frail, starving body tells a deeper story. This is about a bond that hunger cannot break. Ajin's mind is filled with heavy thoughts. He remembers owners who tell their pets to stay with a gentle smile. They promise to return soon, but then they disappear and never come back. That cycle of loyalty and betrayal is exactly what's breaking this poor creature's heart. He has seen enough people who abandon those who trust them the most. And that realization fills him with cold fury. Resolute, Ajin promises that when they finally track down that owner. All right, you and I are about to see this person face what they have done to that loyal creature. They start asking around the village for any clues. A grim pattern quickly emerges. A local tells Ajin about Gabrielle's husband. Apparently, the man cannot even work because of the beast roaming the mountain. Parents refuse to let their children anywhere near the woods. They are terrified of what is out there, and even the local kids talk about the danger. Now, an old man grumbles about losing money years ago, though his words do not seem to fit the puzzle. Still, one thing is certain. This entire village absolutely hates that poor stray dog. After hours of digging, Ajin and Selina stop for a breather on a quiet corner. Tired of hearing the same horror stories, Ajin suspects the owner might not even be local. Selina agrees, thinking they have been looking in the wrong place. She points out that every single person they have met has nothing but hostility for the animal. Suddenly, a woman with long hair approaches the duo. She overheard their questions and mentions they are looking for Jake. He was the man who actually owned the dog. She tells them to follow her and leads the way to Jake's home. Ajin notices how isolated the house is. It is tucked away in the trees. Jake lived alone, far from everyone else in town. He was an outsider, which explains why so few people actually knew him. When they finally reach the cottage, she stops at a small grave and reveals the truth. Jake died 2 months ago in a sudden landslide. He had 0 family left, so she was the one who buried him. She insists that Jake never meant to leave Max behind. He simply never came home. She even admits she tried to take the dog in once but failed. Her voice is heavy with deep sadness. She begs them to help the dog, whom she calls Max. Her plea hits Ajin like a ton of bricks. A wave of guilt washes over him. He realizes he had judged this dog all wrong. Our hero offers a silent prayer for Jake, feeling terrible about his assumptions. He makes a solemn vow. They are going to save Max, no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Schwinn sees the officers arriving early and admits he did not expect them until the following day. They must have wrapped up their last mission way ahead of schedule. He suggests waiting until tomorrow to kill Max, but the officers are not having any of it. They insist there is no reason to wait. This whole thing needs to be handled right here and now. Since the villagers hate the dog anyway, he figures no one will object if they finish early. Meanwhile, Ajin has finally arrived at Jake's old house. He immediately smells herbal medicine in the air. It is a dead giveaway that Jake worked as a local herbalist. Selina suggests, grab anything that still smells like the owner. She points towards some old clothes on the rack. Ajin spots a photo of Jake and Max together. They look like the best of friends. He wonders what could have happened to a man who clearly loved his dog this much. Then Selina notices another picture on the wall and calls him over. It is Amanda. She realizes that Jake must have been out in the woods searching for one. A little later, Ajin remembers seeing Amanda in a movie. Selina explains it is a screaming plant, an extremely rare specimen you and I would find impossible to collect. They both still remember that eerie sound echoing from the forest yesterday. Dangerous as it is, you and I know the Mander is a treasure every herbalist dreams of finding. Meanwhile, Max sits outside his cave, eyes fixed on the sky, reminiscing about his owner. It was pouring the day he and Jake first ducked into this very cave. Jake just laughed it off, wondering if they should wait out the rain before moving. He lit a fire, wrapping a woolen blanket around Max while telling the dog to stay warm and still. Max snuggled in. Despite his exhaustion, Jake smiled, grateful they had found a dry spot. Looking around, Jake suddenly spotted a strange plant growing near the cave wall. Recognizing those leaves instantly, he realized he had finally found a legendary mandrake. He was stunned, never expecting to see one anywhere but in old books. Overjoyed, he promised to be right back with his gear, telling Max to wait for him. Max barked softly, but Jake assured him it was only a short trip away. He stepped out, smiling, but a sudden, massive landslide of rocks came crashing down, killing him instantly. Years went by. The fire died, but Max stayed. A week later, some tourists finally stumbled past the cave. One of them realized the dog had been sitting there for quite some time. Thinking he was abandoned, they felt pity and tried to offer the dog some food. But Max just shrieked and retreated, his fear eventually scaring the travelers away. Startled by his reaction, the tourists fled the area immediately, muttering that the dog was crazy and clearly abandoned for a very good reason. Max just returned to his post, waiting for Jake, never knowing his owner was gone forever. Back in the present, while Max remembers, you and I see the officers begin their approach. One officer suggests they shouldn't rush. It is late, so they should head back soon. Standing over Max, they prep tranquilizers powerful enough to knock out even a high-level shaman. Schwinn begs for one more hour, explaining he has hired help to save the dog. To Schwinn, Max is harmless, just a loyal dog with a truly heartbreaking story. The officer does not care. He is not here to hear some dog's story. His only job is protecting people, and that is all that matters. As he aims, Max pants heavily. Just before the shot, Selina and Ajahn arrive, putting a sudden stop to it. Selina demands they rescue the stray, instead of causing the animal any more harm. Suddenly, Max sees it, a vision of his owner, smiling gently right at him. The figure says he has come for him. Max has waited far too long. Overwhelmed with pure joy, Max steps forward, tail wagging, truly believing Jake is home. Our main character approaches. In a soft voice, he admits he is not the one Max waited for, but it is time to go home. A lone night settles over the forest as a deer sprints for its life. Something wild is hunting it, yellow eyes glowing through the pitch-black dark. A piercing shriek echoes, shattering the silence of the deep, quiet woods. Morning arrives. And Ajahn's clinic is suddenly chaotic as a panicked customer bursts through the door. Our main character looks down to find a ping-ponging panda, so fat it can barely roll over. He grumbles in disbelief, while the owner claims the poor panda barely eats anything at all. 7 meals a day, that is it. Ajahn sighs. If this pet doesn't reach a healthy weight soon, it might get seriously ill. The owner looks totally shocked, unable to believe it. Our boy just calls for the next patient without saying anything else. Schwinn walks in with a polite smile, greeting our boy with his usual courtesy. Seeing him reminds Ajahn of Max, the dog who came from the mountain after his owner died. Max spent days at his master's grave, refusing to accept that Jake was actually gone. Everyone in town pitied him until he finally opened up to the one person who cared. Ajahn asks why he's here and if something's wrong with Max, but Schwinn has other plans. Instead of news, he pulls a weird mandrake plant out of his bag. Selina instantly notices that something is very wrong with it. Most mandrakes stay buried, but this one has its roots sticking straight out of the soil. Schwinn explains that Jake found this mandrake before passing away and kept it as a final memento. But whenever they try to replant it, the mandrake literally forces its way back out. It screams day and night until the whole village was forced to wear earplugs to survive. A few people even had their eardrums burst. Selina notes that mandrakes are notoriously picky about their environment. They have quite the temper. Schwinn sighs that it's impossible to manage. It's only quiet because it's sleeping, but trust me. Once it wakes up, it's pure chaos. He begs Ajahn to take the thing. Our boy refuses. He treats animals, not some screaming weeds. Anything that makes that much noise can't even be called a plant. Schwinn insists it's not a plant or animal. It's something much worse, a demon. Ajahn tells him to take it to a church then, but before another word can be said, the mandrake starts to stir. Schwinn panics, it's waking up. He dumps the plant and bolts for the exit. He and his group vanish from the clinic before our boy can even stop them. Ajahn is fuming, shouting curses after those cowards. He's seen people abandon many things, but a plant, that is a first. Selina quickly covers it with a glass shield, reminding him that mandrakes are actually valuable herbs. Every single part, from leaf to root, can bring someone back from the dead. Our boy just grumbles. What good is it if it's completely uncontrollable? Suddenly, the mandrake opens its eyes. Selena yells for him to cover his ears before it screams and hurts them. Ajin panics, searching for his missing noise-canceling headphones while bracing for the sound to hit him. But instead of an ear-piercing scream, the mandrake actually smiles. Confused, he watches as Selena tries to figure it out. She realizes it actually likes him. She tells him to take out his necklace. The moment he pulls it out, the mandrake's eyes go wide and it starts dancing. Our boy can't believe it. Selena just laughs, saying it looks like a happy sunflower toy. He grumbles that the comparison is actually pretty disgusting. Selena doesn't care. She just tells him to raise it in his room. Despite his protests, he ends up doing it. Later that night, a frantic knock wakes him up. He is half asleep, grumbling about after-hours fees, until a woman rushes in with a bleeding dog. Those gashes are deep, far too deep. Our boy realizes the bleeding is too heavy to stop. But Selena remembers, mandrake leaves have incredible clotting power. At his signal, she slowly approaches the plant. The mandar watches her with suspicious eyes. She hesitates, telling Ajin to ask it himself. He thinks asking a plant for permission is pure insanity, but he does it anyway. The second he asks for a leaf, the mandar smiles, starts dancing, and hums a soft tune. Totally baffled, our guy grabs the leaf and finally stops the bleeding, barely saving the poor dog's life. The woman is crying with relief. Our boy just yawns, tells her to come back for a checkup, and heads back to bed. 30 minutes later, though, another urgent knock ruins his sleep. A man is at the door, holding a mauled deer and begging for any kind of help. The poor animal's body is covered in brutal wounds. Ajin realizes these wounds aren't from some simple hunt. Someone clearly enjoyed the cruelty, a total psychopath, but since our boy is responsible. The villagers are confused, wondering if some new kind of monster is on the loose. A little girl quietly explains it's actually the pet of Baron Doyle. A wolf that kills for fun. Our boy's shock turns into pure, boiling rage. He starts cursing the noble, demanding to know how this is even allowed. Shouting about the total lack of animal protection laws. They remind him the Baron is a noble, untouchable, but our boy won't stand for such injustice. He's yelling about freedom, law, and democracy. Concepts they've never even heard of. Finally, Selena tells him to just focus on the dying deer. 1 week later, chaos breaks out near the clinic. A massive crowd has gathered, everyone screaming for the doctor to save their injured pets. Exhausted, Ajin joins the shouting. He rants that he can't live like this and calls for a revolution. Our boy leads the angry mob right toward Doyle's mansion. They chant for justice until the Baron's elite guards show up to shut the whole thing down. When they ask for the doctor, he grumbles that they found him way too fast, but steps forward to claim his name. To his shock, the guards bow and escort him to the castle. Inside, a massive blood-fang wolf lies on the floor, dying from serious wounds. Baron Doyle stands there, looking completely desperate. He begs Ajin to save his beloved pet, promising him anything in return. Our boy and Selena are frozen. This is the very creature that caused all that pain and suffering. After a week of beast attacks, the townspeople gather, whispering about a magical creature lurking deep in the western forest. Word spreads that the rogue wolf has been killed. Now, a giant man-eating monster is stalking the woods. It's preying on people now. Fear spreads through the entire crowd. Some think the village is doomed and talk about running for their lives. But others aren't worried. Baron Doyle has already launched a massive monster hunting operation. Huge traps are set, and soldiers are patrolling the forest day and night. They praise the Baron as a hero, feeling totally safe under his mighty protection. Our boy listens, knowing full well the truth is different. He remembers the Baron weeping and screaming for his men to catch the monster that attacked his kid, while servants work to calm him and quietly fix the whole mess. To Ajin, this looks just like the media manipulation from his world. Selena watches him closely, picking up on the visible tension in his eyes. All right, let's take a look. Our lead notes most injured animals were attacked near the eastern forest. But the Baron's wolf, that attack went down deep in the west. Despite the evidence, The Baron's men keep focusing their search on the west, ignoring the east entirely. Selina finds the whole thing suspicious as well. Locals avoid that western forest like the plague. They say it is haunted. While they are still talking, a guy from the glass workshop calls them inside, announcing the custom syringes are ready. They are mouth-blown, reinforced glass infused with albarium powder to survive heat and shock. He looks them over, genuinely stunned by the master craftsmanship. He calls the technology remarkable, amazed that they are entirely handmade. The maker admits it was a nightmare to build. No way he is making more. Ajin pays him a massive bonus, securing a partnership despite the man's hesitation. Bit by bit, the clinic starts filling up with high-end medical gear. Renovations kick off. Selina checks the layout, shocked by how modern and organized it is. He thinks to himself, finally, this place is starting to feel like a real hospital. One afternoon, a man walks in carrying massive bundles of local herbs. The selection is wild. Some can knock you out just by breathing them in. Others fix stomach aches or stop a cough. One even works as an antiseptic. Ajin checks them out, totally floored by how powerful these effects are. Rumor has it, some of these can even treat fatal diseases. He mutters that nothing this good exists back home, while Selina mocks his doubt. Suddenly, a girl rushes in, screaming for Ajin to come because the monster is caught. Soldiers and hounds stand ready. Baron Doily stands over the shattered trap, while a roar echoes through the trees. The soldiers press in, shouting that they have finally cornered the beast. As Ajin gets closer, the monster's shadow looms large on the ground. Only to reveal a tiny, angry cat, total silence falls. The soldiers just stare. It looks like nothing more than a common street cat. But the Baron insists this is the beast that traumatized his wolf. He points at its teeth and claws, calling it pure evil. Ajin realizes they are actually serious, as the soldiers toss a net over the kitty. The cat fights back, crying out while the Baron laughs and orders a fire. Ajin tries to object, but the Baron demands the cat be dragged to its public execution. It reminds him of back home, when a guy brought a wounded cat into his clinic. The man had been feeding it at the shops until someone decided to hurt it. Ajin called people like that absolute demons. He hates animal abusers more than anyone. Back now, the cat rips through the net. The soldiers panic instantly, screaming at everyone to catch the thing again. Wait for it, right now, our lead gets a brilliant idea. He yells for everyone to cover their faces, then points right at the cat's forehead. A faint M-shaped scar glows on its brow. He declares it the mark of a great demon. The bringer of global plague, the mark of Gona, the great pandemic. Ajin names the cat a demon, the physical embodiment of the great plague. And get this, he claims the infection first spread through the rats. The plague reached a cat that ate infected rats, soaking up dark magic and becoming a monster carrier. Now, according to our boy, this one feline is the walking catalyst for a total global disaster. Once this sickness begins to spread, he warns half the population will literally vanish. The mob, previously out for blood, freezes in total shock. Soldiers laugh off such a claim. Even Baron Doyle demands the real truth, questioning the boy's wild story. But Ajin doesn't blink, standing his ground. He's remembering another world, a place of masks, panic, and chaos that fought a very similar war against death. He insists this creature has demonic energy, but it's still faint. It's young enough to suppress right now. Our boy claims his world found a cure for this plague. Maybe it's possible here too. He looks at Selina, hoping she plays along. She coolly explains that with feline blood and the right herbs, a cure is possible. Outwardly, he stays calm. Inwardly, he's sweating, praying his bluff doesn't fall apart. The guards call it a total joke. But before things get ugly, the Baron gives Ajin 7 days. Heal the beast and bring it to the castle, or it faces a very public execution. No pressure. Back at the clinic, our boy finally exhales. He thanks Selina for that clutch assist. Seriously, she's an absolute pro at lying on the fly. Except she wasn't lying. Technically, using this creature and mandar roots, a real cure can be made. Though it would take hundreds of those roots. She asks why he's even bothering to save it. If it awakens, its full power might be impossible to handle. Ajin explains this cat isn't the real killer. He pulls out records of the animal attacks. The wounds don't match the cat's claws at all. The size, the depth, everything is completely wrong. We're looking at a totally different predator here. Selena realizes the truth instantly. Magma, the Baron's own wolf, was the culprit. The cat was just defending itself the whole time. Our hero agrees, but the Baron's sudden public hunt seems incredibly fishy. He kept the wolf's attacks quiet before, so why blame another beast and start a massive spectacle now? He suspects the whole hunt is just a cover, and the cat was the real prize. Selena agrees. It explains why the Baron wanted it alive and why he fell for Ajin's shaky lie so easily. Being called a bad liar definitely stings his pride. But he's quickly distracted by the cat's older injuries. That forehead scar isn't natural. Someone did this to it. The old marks on its legs tell a story of suffering. He's determined to find out what this poor creature has been through. Selena watches him, realizing he's not just some greedy, selfish vet after all. He treats the animal with such gentleness until our boy suddenly snaps. He grabs the cat, burying his face in its fur while yelling about how soft it is. And just like that, her new respect vanishes. Now she's convinced he's just plain crazy. The Mandar smolders with pure jealousy. The next morning, creepy screams echo outside the shop. Townsfolk gather round, whispering in fear about the bizarre, otherworldly noises. Rumors fly. They think our hero is literally exorcising a demon from the plague source. In just hours, the people turn him into a legendary wizard from another world. The crowd is roaring his name, hailing Kim Ajin as the world's next great wizard. Inside, totally oblivious to the growing chaos outside, our guy is just trying to feed the cat. But it just scratches his face again. He's annoyed, but then he noticed something: the cat looks smaller. Selena points out that its size and weight have both been dropping for the last 3 days straight. She actually thinks the creature might be losing its demonic energy. But Ajin, he's convinced it's just starving. Hunger is fueling its rage, burning more energy and creating one nasty, vicious cycle for the poor thing. Just as he's wishing for that demonic snack called chore, a sharp pain suddenly grips his chest. That dragon necklace around his neck starts to glow with a strange light. It releases an energy that solidifies into a familiar chocolate-like treat. The snack flies straight into the cat's mouth, and suddenly it's chewing away, totally happy. Ajin's relieved and starts feeding it with actual affection, while Selena just watches in total silent shock. While the cat eats, that scar on its forehead begins to give off a faint, mysterious glow. Selena freezes. Suddenly, everything is starting to make sense to her. This creature in front of them, it was never just a regular cat. The Monoceros, the horned lion. It was a legendary beast from the era when dragons vanished and mana flooded the world. They were worshipped as sacred beings. Their horns blessed dead lands with water and brought light to the dark. Their hearts, they literally generated mana. And that horn on their head, it was a divine channel for all that incredible energy to flow through. But anyone brave or stupid enough to touch them, dead, instantly. After the great mana famine hit, their kind faded away, forcing them to hide as small animals just to survive, even though they're weak now. They still have that divine pride. No mortal can tame them, except for one specific being, the spirit of healing. Back at the clinic, the little cat finally goes to the bathroom, and Ajin. He's so relieved he's actually praising the little guy, while feeding it more chore. Selena watches, wondering if it's really a good idea to keep bribing this beast with demonic treats. That very night, over at Baron Doyle's massive mansion, a spy tells him the cat is eating like a good boy, and that Ajin is holding it like a baby. The Baron isn't buying it. He listens as his soldiers kneel down beside him. They sound pretty shaken up. They mention the devil's lion and that rumored plague, warning him that this creature is definitely not ordinary. They remember that no human has ever tamed a Monoceros, not even a weak one, and in the worst cases, the mana inside their bodies can turn into a deadly, corrupt poison, turning them into literal living bombs. That power, it could easily bring an entire nation to its knees. Now the Baron is seriously rattled. He remembers what Ajin said about a plague that swallowed his world, a war humanity fought for years. He also remembers that these beasts were supposed to reject any food a human offered them. Now he's starting to wonder if our guy knows something that nobody else has figured out yet. By the following morning, the clinic is absolutely buzzing with activity. The new assistant, Pio, is working the front desk, calling the next patient into the exam room. The place feels alive and organized, exactly how a real clinic is supposed to look. Meanwhile, Selena is scolding some noisy patient whose animal just won't sit still. She's getting annoyed, and in a snap of temper, she uses magic to silence the room, scaring everyone. Ajin just watches, completely horrified, as she uses the spell on another customer, turning the whole clinic into a total mess. Then, without warning, Selena asks for a half-day off and just vanishes again. Later, our boy finds her handwritten note about her being gone without permission. That sloppy handwriting is just the start. He vents that even real vets are not this unprofessional. He is desperate. So he calls up Pio, a nearby acquaintance, to help out, but then get this. Pio turns out to be exceptionally capable. She is lifting supplies and keeping things in order with a cheerful smile. Her work ethic is so impressive that he seriously considers hiring her full-time. But in the rush, Ajin notices something weird. The clinic, usually full of animal chaos, has suddenly gone dead silent. The next morning, the mystery is solved when a familiar patient returns. Ping Ping the hamster. Ajin is speechless. That little guy went from 0.5 kilograms to 10 times that size. It is basically a dog. He asks if it is a panda, but the owner says no, it is a flopper dog. That is when our boy realizes the names here are totally different. The owner looks confused and asks him if he even knows what a flopper is. Ajin tries to hide it, but Pio jumps right in. She claims he is from another world, explaining his weird terms and why his medical skills are superior. Flattered, the owner just smiles and assumes he must have studied abroad. Feeling proud and amused, he hires Pio on the spot as a permanent staff member. Turning back to Ping Ping, Ajin starts checking over that massive body. The hamster seems healthy, but that weird color and size are a major red flag. He thinks it might have absorbed growth magic. Then, boom, the cat nearby gets jealous and pounces. The moment they touch Ping Ping, literally splits into 3 identical copies. Everyone in the room freezes. Ajin is struggling to process this impossible madness. He is screaming internally that this breaks every law of physics, but the owner is happy. He hugs all 3, saying Ping Ping finally has a family of his own. Suddenly, one of the small copies takes off across the room. It is total chaos as everyone starts chasing those impossibly fast little creatures. Out of nowhere, Selena finally makes her return. With 0 effort, she catches all 3 of them at once. She is holding 2 and has 1 in her mouth, calling them bloops. The owner admits the creature was actually a gift from his father years ago. He had no idea. Selena decides to keep them for observation, promising the owner that they will be safe. Ajin adds that they never do unethical experiments and always need a guardian's permission for anything. Honestly, though, he wonders why he is the one giving the moral lecture. Later that night, Selena reveals that bloops are not natural. They were artificial beings made by a mad mage. Our boy is stunned. Even this world has its share of crazy scientists. Selena says the mage was not evil, just lost. His creations were a bit unstable, but they were never meant to hurt anyone. Ajin notes that bloops were supposed to be extinct for 100 years, absolutely rare. Curiosity finally gets him. So he casually asks Selena what her actual age is. Before she can answer, a weird gurgling noise erupts from Sonya nearby. He turns in concern, but a sudden knock at the door cuts him off. A soldier shouts that Baron Doyle has arrived, and the noble marches into Ajin's clinic, demanding the monster be brought out, which sends our main character into a quiet panic. He's torn between hiding the cat now or helping it escape later this week. There was 0 time to prepare. Every single second went into caring for this creature. Forcing a nervous smile, he offers the noble a polite greeting. But he's thinking of Selina, who vanished and left him to face this mess. The Baron sits down heavily, completely ignoring all pleasantries, refusing the offer of tea while demanding to see the monster right now. Ajin hesitates, mumbling that the creature's treatment isn't actually finished yet. But the Baron coldly notes that since the clinic is open, the cure must be done. Our boy spins a wild lie. A supposed mishap during the exorcism left a mysterious mark between him and the cat, binding them so tightly that they can never be separated. The Baron's men exchange skeptical looks, muttering that he's insane for expecting anyone to believe such nonsense. As his story falls apart, he suddenly shifts tactics, questioning why the Baron has another black cat locked in his manor's dungeon. That accusation stuns him. For a split second, his composure cracks. Ajin pushes harder, accusing him of a plot to swap the real cat for a decoy. The Baron, now furious, denies everything, insisting the village animal attacks weren't Sonya's fault, but rather a direct result of Ajin's own reckless behavior. He counters by saying the real killer was actually the Baron's own wolf, and pulls out a medical chart. Victim wounds match the wolf's claws perfectly. A soldier snatches the paper, rips it into pieces, and mocks him. He can only grit his teeth, cursing the total lack of digital records in this fantasy world. Suddenly, one of the Baron's men shoves Ajin aside and marches toward Sonya's cage. The cat hisses and claws at the intruder. Our boy's mind starts racing. Summoning a steel carrier would definitely reveal too much, and showing any weapons would only make things worse. Meanwhile, he grips the pendant around his neck, debating whether he should risk its power, knowing that move would change everything. But before he decides, the clinic door bursts open. Several elves walk in, led by Selina and a tall, white-haired man. The newcomer's voice rings with authority as he orders everyone to stand down. The Baron recognizes him immediately by that World Tree insignia and the monocircle etched on his forehead. It's Killian, head of the Supreme Inspection Agency and a guardian of the Athathurian Order. The Baron stammers a greeting, hiding his unease with a sarcastic jab about a sacred order visiting such a shabby clinic. Ajin bristles at the insult, but keeps his mouth shut. Killian announces that they're here to investigate reports of an endangered divine beast. Our boy just stares, distracted by how unreal this elf looks, like a movie character come to life. It finally dawns on him. This is why Selina vanished for all those days. Reality finally hits the moment she hands Killian that cage. Those pointed ears were no accident. She is an elf too. Selina warns her boss to watch out. This cat is fierce. Killian starts a chant, trapping Sonya in a blue sphere. She floats weightlessly. He leans in to check the crown wound. It looks exactly like a cut from a World Tree branch. A mono extractor did this. It is a device used to drain sacred beings dry. Rage replaces his calm as he demands to know if the Baron cut Sonya the Monoceros. The noble starts trembling. He swears he is innocent, then runs. You and I watch as our guy stays stunned. Elves here clearly have more power than even the highest-ranking nobles. Seeing this kind of authority is absolutely exhilarating. Few weapons can hurt a divine beast. Killian promises the truth is going to come out soon. He gives Ajin thanks. They are taking the Monoceros back to keep it safe under their own care. Suddenly, energy explodes. The cat smashes right through that magic barrier. It lunges forward and buries itself right in our main character's arms. It clings to him, terrified. The elves are all completely frozen in shock. A sacred beast choosing a human, it clings to Ajin, trembling uncontrollably. Killian narrows his eyes, focusing intensely on that neck pendant. He realizes the rumors were true. This situation is way bigger than any of them expected. Being stared at like that makes our guy uneasy. It is that creepy look professors give when they want to recruit you. Even Selina is staring at him with a totally unreadable expression. After a long pause, Killian decides to leave things to Ajin. Normally, they would drag both the human and beast to headquarters, but Selina's word provides enough trust. She just shrugs, looking like she is totally bored. Our main character wonders why she is not excited at all. Seriously, how does she stay this calm through all this madness? Killian casts another spell, placing a delicate glowing necklace on the creature. The charm starts shining with a soft light. This magic helps it recover the power lost along with its horn. Sonia squirms around, obviously hating the new piece of jewelry. The elf explains that the charm also contains a secret emergency signal. They will know instantly if it is in danger. Ajin is impressed by them. It is basically a built-in automatic rescue system. Killian pulls out a ring and presents it as a big thank you. This ring carries the authority of the Celestian family, along with powerful protective magic. Ajin takes it slowly, feeling honored but nervous. This gift feels heavy. Killian smiles and insists on putting it on the boy himself. It is a bit awkward, but our boy allows it. The other elves whisper that the ring looks perfect on him. He looks at the shining ring, wondering what kind of fate he just stepped into. Single for his whole life, and now his first ring is from an elf. That elven ring starts glowing with a magic that feels way too suspicious. Something about this whole situation feels off. He tries to turn it down politely, apologizing and claiming he just can't take such a gift. Killian is confused. He asks why, but our hero explains that for a guy who works with his hands, jewelry is just a distraction. Meanwhile, Killian tells him to view it as armor instead of a trinket. Secretly, he thinks Ajin is totally out of his element. A few moments later, Ajin stays firm. He repeats that wearing rings on his fingers would only get in the way of his medical work. Killian stops pushing back. Instead, he whispers a quick spell. The ring melts into light, transforming into a sharp tattoo on Oin's finger. It looks seriously cool. Killian tells him to touch the mark to his heart and speak his family name out loud. As soon as Ajin does, his finger glows and a holographic Killian pops up right in front of him. The elf explains this magic allows them to talk remotely. It is a spell for long-distance voice and video. He tells Ajin to try saying light. Our guy says the word, and a tiny beam of energy shoots from his fingertip. The elves find it pretty funny as he waves his hand around, looking totally blown away by the magic. Now, Killian promises there are more features to find, but the big one is the powerful protection spell hidden inside the mark. Ajin offers his thanks. Still, he is a bit rattled by how advanced this tattoo technology actually feels. Selena watches with a smirk. She remembers how hard he fought against the ring, but now he looks like a kid with a toy. Killian's gaze falls on the necklace Ajin is wearing, and he looks genuinely curious for a second. When Ajin says it was a gift from a dragon, the elves freeze. Everyone believes dragons went extinct over 1,000 years ago. He admits he heard the same, but explains he once treated a dragon's sick pet back when he was a healer. The dragon gave him the charm as thanks and promised a ride home, but things went sideways. Ajin ended up here by accident. He is realizing just how much these people truly live for magic. Our hero asks if anyone knows a way to get him back. Suddenly, the three elves go wide-eyed and drop to their knees right there. They start chanting prayers to the spirit of healing with pure reverence. They thank fate for the honor of meeting Ajin. Our hero just stands there, completely and utterly lost. They treat him like a god. Our boy protests, insisting they have it all wrong. He claims he is just a normal human caught in a dragon's mistake. Besides, the dragon's pet wasn't even sick, just a bit lonely and neglected. Killian argues that he still carries a necklace pulsing with the power of a dragon. Ajin mutters that he only took it for gas money after being kidnapped to another world against his will. Killian takes his hand solemnly and explains their world is facing a massive crisis. Mana, the lifeblood of their world, is disappearing. It used to be everywhere, but since the dragons vanished, it has faded away. Now the holy beasts are gone, and the land itself is starting to die. If this keeps up, the next generation doesn't stand a chance. To fight back, the world's leaders created the Atheraean Order, an organization built to protect mana and bring back the balance. Our guy only half listens, figuring it is basically just a magical version of Greenpeace. Killian goes on, saying ancient legends talk about the spirit of healing. He is the one destined to wear dragon power and save the world from ruin. At his words, every single eye suddenly turns toward Ajin. He points at his own chest in total shock, asking if they actually mean him. Killian nods gravely, confirming that they have waited centuries for his arrival. Our main character tries to explain again that they are completely mistaken. But the elves are already bowing low, swearing their very lives to the spirit of healing. Both the Celestian family and the Athethurian order vow to protect him at any cost. Our boy feels the crushing weight of their devotion. His mind is spinning in circles. He really wants to shout that this is all complete and utter nonsense. That the dragon who dragged him to this place must have been totally insane. Deep down, he curses the creature, wondering what kind of sick joke this is. Next morning, the divine chaos fades as he returns to the quiet routine of his clinic. A customer walks in with a flying fish that has somehow lost its wings. Ajin gives it a thorough checkup. Physically, the little guy is actually doing just fine. It is just aging. The owner looks crushed. Is there any way to slow time or help it fly again? Our boy explains softly that aging is natural. It is something no one can escape. And it must be accepted. The owner hesitates, then mentions her bedridden father loves these fish. He used to raise a whole school of them back in the day. But since he got sick, only Lumi remains. She was a special gift from his wife. Decades ago, when her father finally worked up the courage to propose. He released Lumi into the night sky. Her fins sparkled just like a falling star. Back in those days, flying fish would glow brightly as they soared through the air, making them the star of every festival and celebration across the entire land. Hearing this, Ajin thinks proposing with a fish instead of a ring sounds pretty tacky. But Selena insists it was romantic. The owner just smiles. Those days are long gone. She explains that after her mother passed away, her father's health just started to crumble. And now he stays in total isolation, only living for his one remaining fish. But recently, her father confessed something dark. If Lumi stops flying, he has no reason to live. Our boy feels the deep sorrow here. It is like the last leaf before winter. Selena coldly suggests just buying a new one. Her total lack of empathy shocks him. Moments later, the owner is on the verge of tears, begging him to save Lumi and her father, but our boy insists Lumi is perfectly fine. She is just old. Not even the strongest magic can stop the passage of time. Still, the owner pleads. Lumi must fly again, or her father is as good as dead. Ajin keeps explaining that the little fish is not actually sick. But he realizes just how dangerous these emotional bonds can actually be. Even in a world of magic, people are deeply tied to their animal companions. Some refuse to eat, while others want to die alongside their pets. It is intense. These feelings often cause more harm than good. Suddenly, Killian appears, demanding a promise. Before our boy can even react, the world fades. He snaps awake. It was all just a dream. Pio greets him, immediately noticing the dark circles under his eyes. She admits that she was also up through the entire night. Pio assumes he was losing sleep over Lumi. That poor flying fish. He denies it, but she thinks the fish just needs more mana. Pio remembers her childhood clearly. Back then, flying fish glowed brightly before the world's mana began to fade. As the air's energy weakened, those majestic fish slowly lost their power to fly. Ajin realizes this is basically environmental pollution, just like back on Earth. This whole world's ecosystem is slowly breaking down. He thinks back to the elf's prophecy about him saving this dying world. Selena jumps in, confirming the crisis reaches far beyond what we first thought. Animals everywhere are getting sick. What people call old age is actually just severe mana starvation. She points out the proof. Monoceres was once a lion. Our lead remembers that Sanya used to be one as well. She's a cute cat now, but he wonders how fierce her true form looked. He imagines her grooming herself like a house cat, even as a giant lion. A light bulb goes off. He asks Pio what specific sickness plagues the fish guardians. She describes a condition where bones become brittle and snap like dry twigs. Ajin asks Selena, what medicine they usually prescribe here. She lists bloom root for bones and bloodroot for pain, plus several other herbs. But what about the side effects? Selena explains that bloodroot eventually causes extreme fatigue and dulls the nerves. He spots the problem instantly and asks for something to neutralize those nasty effects. Selena has a cure, but it might cancel the original medicine's benefits entirely. Regardless, our hero insists on learning the recipe right now. Selena points toward the mandar, and Ajin realizes that's his source. When he walks up, the mandar scowls. He explains he only needs a few leaves. Suddenly, the plant lets out a piercing shriek that makes everyone cover their ears. The mandar starts sobbing, leaving Ajin totally frustrated. Pio thinks it feels neglected, since he's been spending all his time with Sanya. He admits he has never been good with plants. Pio tells him that it needs a name at least. He hesitates and it cries harder. Fine, he names the plant Kim Mandal. Instantly, the crying stops, and the plant starts a happy little dance. As he plucks 2 leaves, Ajin realizes just how clingy the creatures here really are. Selena watches him closely before asking to inspect his mysterious necklace for clues. She puts it on and tries to pet the creatures too. They both snap at her. It seems this bond only works for Ajin. She asks how exactly he triggers its power. He explains that focusing creates a tightness in his chest before the energy releases. Selena realizes the power is actually coming from his own heart. He adds that touching the charm makes animals flock to him like it's dinner. He hands Sanya a snack from his own world. Selena spots the glowing energy and realizes he is unknowingly feeding his mana to these creatures. This realization terrifies her. That kind of deep connection could be lethal. Meanwhile, Pio announces the crushed leaves are ready and finishes brewing the potent potion. She asks if she should bring another batch, and our boy gives a nod. Selena stays quiet, watching him with a worried expression. As we can see, Kim Ajin's presence in this world is anything but ordinary. For the very first time, she begins to wonder if he actually is that legendary spirit of healing. Over at the mansion, Luriel enters her father's room and finds him collapsed on the floor. She rushes over to help, quickly realizing he only tried to stand because Lumi wanted to be near the window despite his weak state. He claims he's perfectly fine. Luriel's terrified that his brittle bones make moving like that way too dangerous. But he just sighs, saying his time is running out anyway. She protests that he can still get better, but he's convinced that losing hope is just as deadly as the disease itself. A moment later, tears fall as she begs him to stop talking that way, but he simply refuses to listen. Right then, Ajin arrives with Selena, Pio, and the rest of the crew, cutting right through the heavy atmosphere. He boldly announces that people don't actually die from illness or fate, but from bad info, wrong prescriptions, poor habits, and a complete lack of real care. Luriel and her father are both completely stunned by this sudden intrusion. Ajin introduces himself and drops a bombshell. Lumi isn't grounded because of old age, it's a side effect of the medicine the father is taking. The father's baffled, pointing out that he's the one taking the pills, not the fish. Our friend explains that flying fish still have those deep-rooted aquatic grooming instincts. They naturally clean the food or people they care about most. By constantly grooming her father's hair and beard, Lumi was absorbing medicinal residue through her skin. Luriel remembers all those nights Lumi spent snuggled up close, brushing against him. The truth finally clicks. The old man grumbles that this explains why his beard was always so shiny. Ajin confirms his theory and pulls out syringes filled with a custom cure. He says the fish will regain all its energy within a day or two. The father jokes he'll shave his beard right off to make sure this never happens again. Our lead begins the treatment, holding each fish steady while Pio helps restrain them for the injections. Once he's finally done, he mentions that it's an incredibly fast-acting drug. A moment later, Lumi starts to stir and suddenly takes flight, glowing softly as she drifts toward the father. He gazes up at her, realizing this isn't some crazy dream. One by one, the other fish start to glow and rise, casting a beautiful blue light everywhere. The whole room fills with shimmering light as they circle above. Luriel and her father are just speechless. This sight takes the father right back to the day he proposed to her mother, using glowing fish just like these. Holding Lumi close, he's deeply moved by it all. Pio watches silently. Realizing this reaction came from Ajin's blood and mana. He knows now, this guy is anything but ordinary. Selena reaches the same conclusion. Wondering if he really is the one from the prophecy, the legendary spirit of healing. Later, Selena meets with Killian to discuss what happened. Killian is convinced everything aligns with the prophecy. That bond with Monoceros, it's all the proof he needs. Selena questions why he gave Ajin that ring, especially since it doesn't even belong to him. But Killian is certain the original owner would have totally approved. He admits that rumors about the spirit of healing will soon spread across the entire world, and they plan to use this fame to uncover the truth behind hidden forces instead of just chasing enemies. Selena. She finally realizes it. Baron Doyle was just bait to flush people out. Killian reassures her that Ajin is safe, pointing out their meeting in this village was no coincidence. Selena thinks back to when Ajin took down that massive rabbit while wearing that mysterious necklace of his. She admits that he is certainly unique, though. But she still doubts he is actually the spirit of healing. Killian tells her to stay patient. The prophecy isn't only about simple salvation. Dark trials always come first. Anyway, another quiet morning begins at Ajin's little clinic. Inside, that weird little blob creature known as the bloop is just sitting on a leaf. Even though its owner already paid for its treatment a whole week ago. Ajin spots it and gets annoyed. Why is this thing still hanging around the place? Meanwhile, Selena is busy looking after the little creature herself. She says she's helping a bloop, but she's being way too rough with it. Ajin remembers these blobs have two types, core types and non-cores that multiply way too easily. Core types stay solo, making them much easier to manage. But this one lacks a core and reproduces whenever it gets too stressed out. Selena admits it. This specimen is sensitive and doubles in size under pressure. Ajin starts getting nervous. He knows exactly how dangerous these things can actually be. These bloops can multiply so fast, they have literally erased entire villages from the map. Housing it next to volatile monsters like the Mander or Sanya is just reckless. He wonders what on earth she was thinking. It turns out Selena never even asked permission. She is just doing whatever she wants. Pio is just watching them. He's getting shaky, basically hinting they should probably just stay out of this. Ajin remembers a rumor. Elves who hide their ears often have criminal brands burned into them. That dark thought starts to linger in his mind. Selena always has a habit of acting without thinking. She dodges personal questions and has a nasty temper. Her past is a complete mystery. Ajin considers firing her, but the clinic is so busy, he really needs the help. But before he can dwell on it further, Selena calls out that they are open, and it's back to the daily grind. Over at the castle, the Baron is chatting with a shadow through a magic crystal. The voice demands answers. Why did the Athethurian order suddenly show up at the clinic? The Baron explains they stormed in, rambled about a divine beast, and then left. The mysterious man is furious. He blames the Baron for losing the Monoceros. The Baron begs for forgiveness and swears he will get it back. Plus, he won't even have to steal it. The beast is already with Kim Ajin. The man is stunned. Divine beasts and humans, they don't usually get along. The Baron insists it followed him. The man calls him useless and demands silence from everyone. The crystal call cuts out. The Baron is steaming. He tells his butler to call in Theodore and Alex from leave. The butler points out they just started their break after complaining about too much overtime. The Baron snaps instantly. He cancels their leave and wants them back. This whole situation is only getting worse now. Meanwhile, rumors about the Athethurian order appearing are spreading like wildfire through the marketplace. Rumors fly as the townspeople gossip about seeing the group. They wonder why a powerful order would visit a simple countryside clinic. Word spreads fast. They are here searching for a rare divine species. People claim our guy is not just a doctor. but a visitor from another world. Stories say he subdued mana-infused beasts and tamed divine creatures with his bare hands. Fact and fantasy blur together until the entire town buzzes with wild speculation. As night falls, the whispers take on a much darker tone. People call Ajin the spirit of healing, a figure prophecy once claimed would be female. Now the word is that the spirit is actually a man. And whoever earns his favor will eventually rule the entire world. A pink-haired woman discusses these strange rumors with her brown-haired companion. Noting how the prophecy changes with this new twist, meanwhile, in noble Manhwa, Adrian arrives at his clinic, fully expecting the usual busy crowd. But the place is eerily silent. He notices the emptiness, and his butler confirms that not a single patient has shown up since morning. He suspects Count Downey is interfering and immediately vows to strike back. His assistant quietly mentions that the missing clients might be visiting a new vet clinic in Belmore. Adrian laughs it off, sure that nobles would never visit a commoner's shop. But just then, his cool facade breaks. Lady Marianne canceled her appointment to visit Ajin's clinic instead. Pure rage. Slamming his hand down, Adrian orders his carriage prepared at once. Determined to confront the man who just publicly humiliated him. Born into nobility, Adrian had brains, talent, and looks. Still, his choice to become a vet baffled everyone who knew him. But his reason was actually simple. He loved people who loved their pets. Soon, using his practiced charm, he was reassuring anxious owners that their precious animals would recover, finding total satisfaction in easing their worries. Adrian always kept his personal life separate, except when it came to one woman, Lady Marianne Astard. The second she stepped into his clinic, his heart was completely hers. He even believed he became a vet just to treat her divine unicorn. But that pride turns bitter when he learns Marianne chose someone else, a mere commoner, to treat Lulu the unicorn. Furious, he shuts down his clinic for the day and heads to the Astrid estate. Reaching the mansion, Marianne's mother greets him politely but seems bored, questioning why he's shown up unannounced. Adrian claims he's worried for Lulu, calling the unicorn sensitive and calling it irresponsible to trust a random commoner, but her mother corrects him. Kim Ajin, the new vet, is actually a woman. That news catches him totally off guard. She adds that this commoner is incredibly skilled and so beautiful that people call her a fairy or a spirit. This rattles Adrian. He starts imagining what kind of woman could be compared to a fairy. Maybe a golden-haired angel or a mysterious dark-eyed beauty. But his daydream stops when Marianne's mother admits she just made up the story to test him, then orders her servants to kick him out. Humiliated but still defiant, Adrian insisted he wasn't obsessed. No, he was simply devoted to Lady Marianne. That declaration just made her mother laugh. Then, she had him tossed out anyway. Sitting in his carriage, Adrian fumed. He decided then to confront Kim Ajin himself. See, he prided himself on knowing unicorns better than anyone else. He knew they judged by scent and absolutely hated the smell of blood. Plus, he knew they could be violent toward men. Since unicorns love cleanliness, he believed his perfect grooming made him the perfect match. He remembered the struggle of earning a unicorn's trust before. His secret, bathing twice a day and wearing the exact same perfume as the owner. He was absolutely sure that some stinky commoner who didn't know perfume would just trigger Lulu's rage. Then, he'd step in and play the hero right before Marianne's eyes. The thought made him laugh. Meanwhile, his coachman just sat there, judging his total delusions. When Adrian's carriage finally reached Belmore, he found a crowd outside the clinic, all buzzing about a unicorn sighting. He was sure our boy would totally embarrass himself. But Adrian's confidence shattered when he saw Ajin calmly sitting on Lulu's back. The unicorn looks completely at ease. Then, the crowd's losing it. Even Marianne admitted she's never seen Lulu let anyone else ride her. Adrian just stood there frozen. He couldn't believe his eyes. He told himself there had to be some kind of trick involved. Maybe it was magic from the elf beside Ajin. But that theory crumbled when Lulu suddenly bit the elf's arm, leaving her stunned. Ajin jumped in to treat the wound immediately, and cleared the crowd while the onlookers started whispering. Refusing to back down in shame, Adrian decided to spy. He found an open window and climbed a tree like a champion. Through the window, he saw our guy treating the elf's bite wound. He was calmly applying herbs, using a technique Adrian didn't recognize. Adrian's eyes narrowed at a glowing crest on Ajin's hand. He was shocked. The symbol of House Celestian, the most noble of all elven families. He stared in total disbelief. This supposed commoner, Vet, actually carried the mark of the highest elven lineage. While bandaging Selina's hand, Ajin notices a faint mark. He realizes this minor bite actually carries dangerous poison from the saliva. He tells her they were lucky it wasn't worse. Selina, thinking back to the creature's reaction, noted that it showed insane hostility. That's extremely rare for its kind. Marianne apologizes for everything and insists on paying all the medical costs. But Ajin refuses. He admits it was their own lack of caution. Marianne gestures toward Selina and asks if she's an employee at the clinic. Ajin explains she's an assistant doctor, handling prescriptions and all the heavy lifting. Marianne nods, then notes that despite Ajin's huge reputation, this clinic seems pretty small for someone with his skills. That comment sends our main character right back to memories of his old workplace. Right after that, a tiny, loud building filled with messy plumbing, cold rooms, and people complaining about pets nonstop. But before he finishes thinking, Marianne cuts him off, feeling sorry for his past and praising what he's done. She starts acting all shy while suggesting her family could buy him a way bigger clinic. Our guy isn't sure if this is business or something more romantic. Then Lulu just snaps, throwing the whole room into a total mess. Everyone scrambles to hold her back as Selina notices that unicorns, even with their link to monoceros, usually play nice with smaller animals. Marianne hates hearing that Lulu might be the one causing trouble. Soon, she and Selina are going at it, getting super heated. Arguments about manners and noble privileges start flying everywhere. Pio mumbles about how weird nobles think, making Marianne glare at him. While they argue, Lulu starts kicking and thrashing again. She smashes into a bookshelf and suddenly, boom, a huge crash. The window shatters as Adrian flies in, landing face first. Selina freezes the falling shelf with magic, saving everyone from a disaster. The group just stares, wondering if this intruder is actually alive. Adrian looks up, bleeding but grinning, and gives Marianne a dramatic greeting. Marianne is speechless, but Pio demands to know who he is. He proudly announces himself as Adrian Heaven Crown. He kisses Pio's hand, swearing to protect all beautiful things. Ajin stares in total shock, appalled by the theatrical entrance and that fake tone, basically calling him a dramatic influencer. When they ask why the window was necessary, Adrian acts totally offended, claiming he's the real doctor and accusing Ajin of animal abuse. The whole thing turns into a screaming match immediately. Ajin tries to stay calm, but Adrian keeps screaming that he is an unqualified fraud and a deceitful player. Confused, Ajin looks to Selina to explain that weird insult. She clarifies it is a nasty insult for a womanizer who lures people in like some kind of carnivorous plant. It takes a second to hit him, and then he's just baffled. Marianne tells Adrian to stop being so gross and rude. But Adrian doesn't stop, digging into Ajin's love life instead. Right in the middle of the fight, Adrian spots a strange mark on the guy's hand and starts screaming about secret noble bloodlines or something even more scandalous. Pio blurts out that it must be an engagement ring, which leaves the entire room in total shock. Panicked, he tries explaining it is just a gift from someone named Killian, but that only confuses them more. Before more questions come out, Lulu starts trembling and sweating before she suddenly collapses, sending everyone in the room rushing over to help her immediately. Ajin starts the medical checkup fast. Pupils look okay, and while her breathing is heavy, she's stable. He calls for a candle and stethoscope to find the real problem. Adrian watches him work, then drops a bombshell: she's actually pregnant. Adrian examines Lulu and realizes the truth: she is definitely expecting. Marianne can't believe it. She rejects the news, certain the unicorn's isolation in the greenhouse makes a pregnancy impossible. Selena backs her up, pointing out that Lulu's recent odd behavior, specifically how on edge she is, fits the pregnancy signs perfectly. Ajin brings out a strange device to listen to her vitals. Marianne follows his lead and hears it, Lulu's own steady heartbeat. But then, another smaller, distinct pulse thumps from within her belly. The shock is too much. She collapses, but Adrian quickly catches her. Meanwhile, our boy explains that this tool is a stethoscope. Adrian is stunned by its accuracy. She can't believe how clearly it picks up even the tiniest sounds. Adrian and Ajin team up and figure out Lulu is 4 months along. Marianne denies it again, swearing Lulu hasn't left that greenhouse in all that time. Stick with me, this is where the mystery deepens, because the unicorn was kept completely isolated, waiting to mate with Prince Theo's stallion, Shark. Precautions or not, the evidence of this pregnancy is undeniable. Moments later, Lulu is moved to intensive care. Ajin sets up an IV to fight dehydration and malnutrition from her vomiting. The others watch in pure awe, noting a treatment that bypasses the stomach entirely. Silence falls as Marianne tries to make sense of the chaos. Selena finally speaks up. She argues that the royal arrangement was likely doomed anyway, as unicorns rarely pick partners and stay single forever unless they find someone truly worthy. In very rare cases, an epic pairing creates a legendary golden hybrid that is basically a myth. Adrian suggests gifting Lulu to the palace to explain this whole mess to the prince personally. Soon after that, thinking the prince would love to have such a rare beast, Selena shuts it down. These hybrid stories are mostly fairy tales, and besides, they still have no idea who the father is. Adrian lists off the legendary horses. Under Lady Marianne's watch, honestly, any of them could be the father. Siegfried is fast and beautiful, Tara has endurance, Dolly is just charming. And then there is Black Thunder, the powerhouse. Now Marianne agrees. They have to find the real father before they make any big moves. Adrian offers to help, but Marianne looks to Ajin instead, hoping his medical skills can solve the puzzle. He says no, a stethoscope cannot determine lineage, but then Adrian steps in. He knows Ajin's sharp instincts, and care for Lulu make him the best man for the job. Selena adds that the answer might be right here, since pregnant unicorns usually freak out when they are away from their mates. But strangely, Lulu stayed calm during the trip. Thinking back, Marianne realizes the agitation only started once they reached their destination. That carriage route is their very first clue. Over at the stables, Joseph is busy with a young mongrel horse, totally clueless about the drama. The moment Lulu spots that horse, she gets visibly emotional, rushing forward to embrace him with clear recognition. Everyone watching is totally stunned. Marianne is horrified, unable to grasp why a royal unicorn would ever bond with such a lowly mixed-breed horse. The scene's absurdity draws a quiet remark from our boy, likening it to a dramatic play where noble parents reject a forbidden match. Watching Lulu's behavior, Adrian confirms that despite every expectation, the connection between the two animals is genuine. Marianne argues that the young horse is far too young, but Ajin points out Lulu's choice is final. Separating them now would only hurt both her and the unborn foal. The evidence leaves Marianne speechless, her mind spinning at the impossible reality before her. A unicorn, the symbol of grace, bound by affection to an ordinary stable horse. Truly wild. After discovering the truth about Lulu and the horse, Marianne's father decides to confront Joseph. He screams at the young man, calling it pure madness to let a carriage horse near a precious unicorn. Joseph tries to explain he had no idea, but the count accuses him of lying just to squeeze some profit from the situation. Joseph keeps denying it, but the count won't listen. He orders both Joseph and the horse locked up, promising that punishment is coming soon. The maids whisper among themselves, all agreeing that the count is being way too cruel. Joseph did nothing wrong. After all, they point out that no one can stop animals from being affectionate toward each other. The conversation turns to why Lulu was supposed to be sent to the royal palace. With some realizing she was likely a bribe for the crown princess election happening at the end of the year. Meanwhile, they discuss Marianne's role and how Lulu could have lived in luxury if things had gone as planned, but instead ended up with a carriage horse. One maid snidely remarks that Lulu probably takes after her owner. Another hint that there are many people who don't actually know the real young lady Marianne. Just then, one of the maids warns the others to keep quiet. Right then, another maid rushes in to report that Lulu's condition is getting much worse. She is coughing up blood. Marianne hurries to Lulu's side immediately and asks what is wrong. The maid explains Lulu hasn't been able to eat due to morning sickness and is now vomiting blood. She remembers Selina's warning. Pregnant unicorns get dangerously anxious when separated from their partners, and Lulu's health is failing because of it. The maid warns that if this keeps up, the situation could become much more dire. Next, Marianne asks when Ajin will arrive. The maid says a message was sent, but he is delayed due to the distance. Determined, Marianne decides to find another doctor nearby and demands that the horse be brought to Lulu. The man leading the horse urges it to hurry, while the maids complain about the terrible smell. They grumble that being locked up is no excuse. He should have been cleaned before meeting the young lady. The man insists it's urgent. Marianne silences them all and instructs that the horse be sent inside. The moment Lulu sees him, she runs over immediately and presses herself close for comfort. Marianne orders warm water, announcing she will clean him herself. The maids are in total shock, but she ignores them, telling them to go prepare some soup for Lulu. She starts wiping down the horse with a warm, damp towel. She calls him a heartless beast, but can't stop thinking about when her parents crushed her own romance with a commoner's son. She knows Lulu could have been drowning in luxury right now. But maybe this simple life is what Lulu actually needs to be happy. Right then, our main man arrives. He treats Lulu's ailment, explaining that while animals have their own specific likes, hierarchy doesn't exist to them. Lulu doesn't care if she's a highborn unicorn or a horse. He sets up an IV for Lulu, promising Marianne that just staying close to the one she loves is true happiness. A little while later, as he gives the medicine, he warns her it's only a temporary patch for a bigger problem. The only real cure, letting Lulu and her partner stay together for good. Marianne quietly agrees. Our boy prepares to leave for his clinic, where a long line of patients and his assistant doctor are already waiting for him. Though he silently doubts she's even human, Marianne says she totally understands. She'll handle the rest of the care herself. While Marianne and Ajin watch, Adrian is stuck awkwardly in a tree, struggling to get down before finally hitting the ground. He tries to apologize for his rudeness, but our boy calls him out for trespassing instead. Adrian claims he only climbed up there because he was worried sick about Lulu. Marianne snaps that he should have just asked the staff like a normal person. But Adrian explains he tried that, and they basically slammed the door in his face. Spotting a strange tool in Adrian's pouch, Ogun realizes it's a stethoscope, though he can't help mentioning how cheap it looks. A red-faced Adrian admits it's just a prototype, but our boy warns that real doctors need real tools. He starts heading out, reminding everyone he has a packed schedule full of patients. Adrian watches him walk away, thinking Ajin is actually way cooler than he first thought. Meanwhile, our boy thinks the opposite. He's convinced Adrian is a total weirdo. That night, Lulu starts eating again, and Marianne finally breathes a sigh of relief. Adrian tells her something simple. That love is the ultimate medicine, and she did a great job taking care of Lulu herself. Marianne admits her own pride made Lulu suffer, and she should have reunited the pair much sooner. She realizes she might have actually been jealous of her own unicorn. She remembers being just as innocent as Lulu once upon a time. But over the years, she learned to judge people by their bank accounts and titles. Adrian says that is just how nobles are. But Marianne's mind drifts back to her first love, and how status never mattered compared to his eyes. She walked away from him for his own good, but now she wonders if she's even happy. Adrian says first loves always end in pain, and that hurt can blind you to a new love standing right there. He hints that her perfect soulmate might be a lot closer than she thinks. Meanwhile, Marianne feels a sudden wave of regret, realizing what she missed, and decides to quit the princess selection for good. As Adrian listens, he quietly pulls a small box out of his pocket. Shortly after, sensing a golden opportunity, he places the box in front of Marianne and begins to speak. But then, she suddenly declares that she is going to make her move on Ajin. Adrian freezes. Did he hear that right? He asks her to clarify in total disbelief. All right, you and I are back as Marianne drops a massive bombshell, choosing her own power over marriage. She ends the talk with a polite thanks, offering nothing but the cold comfort of friendship. Adrian is crushed. His heartache quickly turns into a burning hatred for Ajin. Meanwhile, right back at the busy clinic, Ajin lets out a sneeze, while Pio reads through a new message. Kia is officially becoming Lulu's companion, and now they want Ajin to sign on as her personal physician. They are offering 10 times his normal pay, but our boy just says no. He is far too busy at the hospital to take on a private client. Pio is struggling with some stubborn tartar. Ajin leans in to inspect the giant snake's teeth himself. He spots it. He calls for saline, cotton, and anti-inflammatory meds to start the procedure properly. Deep between those fangs, he finds a stuck object and carefully pulls it right out. The owner is ecstatic. This creature, Shamir, is no ordinary pet. It is a sacred beast from the late king, and it had apparently swallowed their precious family heirloom. But Ajin is not done. More tartar remains. He predicts a few extractions and at least 2 more hours of intense work. Selena points out the bad news. The beast has a second head, 5 hours total. Ajin's soul practically leaves his body. To cheer him up, the owner reveals a special portrait of Shamir. It is a masterpiece by the family artist. He asks Ajin what he thinks of the dramatic painting. It is hideous. Ajin desperately wants to turn it down. But the artist is determined to finish this inspiring project very soon. He claims he has not found such a perfect subject in a very long time. Suddenly, Shamir's eyes snap open. Selena is the first to notice. Ajin panics. Was the sedative enough? Selena prepares a protective spell, her hand glowing with mana. But Adrian suddenly lunges forward. He takes the hit from Selena's spell instead of the monster. Wait. Selena recognizes him instantly. Why on earth is this noble doctor showing up now? Before anyone can blink, Shamir unhinges its jaw and swallows Adrian whole in one single gulp. Total silence. The room freezes in shock as the beast actually eats a human. The clinic is closed, but a massive crowd has been waiting since early dawn. Patients are complaining after traveling miles just to see this miracle doctor's talent, while some suggest trying the hospital in the next village instead. Watching from the shadows, Adrian's fury begins to boil. He cannot stand Ajin. How can a man making women cry be called a healer? He thinks back to his assistant's explanation of what a spirit of healing truly is. Apparently, it is a legendary being that grants the wielder power to rule the entire world. Adrian simply scoffed at it. He thought Marianne was being naive. Besides, in his own mind, he looked way more like a spirit than Ajin. Still, he could not forget the rumors, healing flying fish and other impossible medical miracles. He even turned a demon into a cat. That stethoscope hanging around Adrian's neck. It was a gift from Ajin. Now, it feels heavy with the weight of their past. He had acted totally indifferent. He claimed he would return it, checking for spares. Now, he is hiding in a tree with binoculars like a stalker. He tells himself he is just returning a tool, but you and I know he is obsessed. Look closely, our guy is busy treating a hydra. Its 2 heads sway weakly as he cleans the gums and applies medicine. Watching every move, Adrian can't help but feel some reluctant admiration. He realizes our hero's medical skills are on a different level, even though he was a top student. But suddenly, the hydra's tail gives a sharp flick. The sedation is finally starting to wear off too early. Adrian notices it too late as the beast lunges straight toward Helena. He dives in to save her, but the Hydra swallows him whole. Pure shock ripples through the crowd. Ajin stands there stunned, as the Hydra's owner starts screaming in a total panic. Selena quickly sees Adrian was swallowed whole and prepares her magic. But our guy stops her. He sees the Hydra's tongue turning purple. It's swallowed something way too big, and it's actually choking. Using a move they practiced before, Ajin and Selena jump into action. On his count, Selena hits the beast hard to force a Heimlich maneuver. The creature thrashes wildly, and with one more massive strike, Adrian is spat right back out, landing hard on the ground. The Hydra's breathing settles, and the owners start showering our guy with praise. Our hero immediately tells Selena to go check on Adrian's condition. He is alive, but the magic spell will keep him unconscious for a while. Ajin notes that the Hydra's condition has finally stabilized as well. There is some bruising from the shock, so Selena finishes up the dressing. Later that night, our boy gives the owners a serious wake-up call. He reminds them that whatever their pet swallows is 100% their responsibility. They promise to be careful, even joking about keeping humans off the menu. A few days pass by. The Baron actually sends a gift, a painting titled The Great Rescue Operation. Our main character thinks the whole thing is just totally bizarre. Then he hears they even made a statue of him saving Adrian from the mouth. At this point, he is convinced the entire world has gone mad. Meanwhile, Adrian is still out cold, while Pio and Selena watch over him. Finally, Adrian wakes up, totally confused about where he actually is. He remembers spying on the clinic when that giant snake suddenly woke up. He jumped in to protect Selena, then everything went dark. Trapped in the darkness, he thought being eaten was a weird end for a vegetarian. He even hoped to be reborn as a unicorn for a beautiful heroine. But then, a sudden surge of pain shoots through his entire body. He wonders if this is the rebirth starting and begs for the pain to stop. A cough finally pulls him back to the real world. Selena is right there, and a dizzy Adrian wonders if she is his owner. She tells him to stay down and not try to move just yet. The magic side effects will cause some serious nausea for 2 or 3 days. Adrian quietly agrees. Our guy walks in with a steaming cup of medicine. He tells him to sit up and drink every single drop for his recovery. Adrian drinks it all as Ajin mentions. He even added special mandel leaves. Not long after that, Ajin informs Adrian that Astrid Manor has been notified. He can rest here for a few more days. Adrian tries to protest, not wanting to be a burden. But Ajin reminds him that as a doctor, he knows health must come first. Adrian finally thanks him, and Ajin steps out so he can get some sleep. As he leaves, Adrian watches him and thinks Ajin is actually a great guy. He feels totally embarrassed by his earlier jealousy. Adrian decides to be more like him until he spots an invoice on the table. 500 for loading and 100 for meals. Adrian stares and curses Ajin's name. Meanwhile, back at the clinic, a couple is terrified that their pet's gender is about to be swapped. Ajin explains it's just a figure of speech. This wolf is getting castrated. They call it cruel, but Ajin reminds them the wolf's energy is declining fast. Raising kittens is exhausting, and the female's health is suffering from too many births. He asks them if they have a better solution. The owner just whines that the wolf is still young. Ajin asks if they've calculated the kitten explosion in 5 years, or if they're secretly selling pups. The owner quickly denies that. But they argue surgery ruins the wolf's joy. Ajin has heard this a million times. He explains that frequent mating actually causes rapid aging. It shortens their lifespan and lowers everyone's quality of life. The couple finally caves. Pio helps them book a surgery date. Once they leave, Ajin grumbles about his own busy schedule. He's honestly sick of repeating the same advice. Pio says the next patient is her friend's pet. Ajin promises his best care. A girl enters holding a massive chicken, ready for a checkup. Ajin notes the feathers look glossy and the bird seems healthy. Pio adds that Pop is the biggest and healthiest of the bunch. The girl just beams with pride. 20 minutes later, the exam is done. Pop is fit for a prime contest. The girl still feels uneasy. She thinks Pop is losing weight lately, but Ajin doesn't see any real change. She's worried about a sleep seizure, but Ajin tells her it's likely just harmless restlessness. The girl adds that Pop had a sore throat, fearing infection. Pio reassures her that this is common. After a final check, Ajin finds nothing wrong, easing her mind. Suddenly, things go south. Pio runs in shouting that Pop is gone. The owner only stepped away for a moment before the bird vanished completely. Ajin immediately orders all exits and windows to be sealed. Selina tells the waiting room to stay put because an animal is missing. Patients complain as their pets get rowdy, so Sonia does her best to calm everyone. The team searches every corner, but Pop is nowhere to be found. Ajin asks about Pop's habits. The owner is clueless, thinking he already escaped. No way, Pop can't open doors. He has to be inside. That's when Pio remembers something. Pop absolutely loves men. Ajin realizes the bird probably followed a low-pitched voice. Tyr reveals that Pop is obsessed with men. Realization hits our boy. That is why the bird was glued to him during the exam. Sony finds one last spot, a room with a sleeping man. They rush in and find Pop hugging Adrian. Everyone is stunned. Ajin asks Tyr why she would do something like this. He confronts her. Why did she intentionally leave Pop behind? He knew something was off. He has met many owners in his time, but never a guardian disappointed to hear their pet is healthy. He points out that even for a fast chicken, this is impossible. Pop is far too loud and small to vanish and slip through doors like a ghost. He demands an explanation, now. Tyr confesses. She knew the Baroness would never believe a commoner like her. But if a famous doctor like Ajin said Pop was sick, she would. Our boy asks who would actually believe such a crazy story. Tyr is desperate. She whispers the Baroness, then begs Ajin to save her. If the truth gets out that Pop is healthy, he will be hunted. A massive hunting competition is fast approaching. It is a banquet for a VIP guest, maybe even Prince Theo. The Baroness is preparing for the feast. She plans to cook Pop. The room goes dead silent. Pio is livid. Why would anyone want to eat someone's pet? Especially since the Baroness already owns several large fire chickens. Tyr explains they all died last year from a contagious plague. Ajin is skeptical. There are other ingredients, so why focus on Pop? Tyr says fire chickens are prized for their vitality and fertility. They lay many eggs. Families want that strength for their own bloodlines, believing that eating the beast enhances their vitality. Our boy is disgusted. People everywhere are obsessed with stealing gifts through superstition. The Baroness has wanted Pop for a very long time. She is even threatening to seize their land if they refuse. Pio is fuming. Using someone's survival to steal a pet is pure evil. Tyr begs Ajin to write a fake paper saying Pop is contagious. That way, no one would ever dare touch the bird. Our boy refuses. The room goes silent. He explains that once a doctor fakes a diagnosis, they are no healer. They become a fraud, exploiting life for a lie. Once that line is crossed, no treatment you offer can be trusted. Adrian snaps. He is furious, accusing him of valuing rules over life. To him, a doctor should save lives, not hide behind ethics. Ajin stays resolute. If he lies and claims Pop is dangerous, the bird is marked, the whole barn would be slaughtered. And if the truth is found out later, the family would be ruined. A doctor exists to save lives, but never at the cost of hundreds, just to save one. If someone cannot see that, they are not fit to be a doctor. Tyr lowers her head and whispers a quiet apology. Outside the clinic, Tyr is absolutely devastated. Pio tries to comfort her, promising a solution will come. Tyr feels crushed by the nobility, even considering running away with Pop to escape it all. But then our guy arrives. He tells her there is no need to flee. Even if he cannot help as a doctor, he will help as a pet owner. Tyr and Pio look up, hopeful again as he shares his master plan. Moments later, Ajin tells Tyr to start spreading rumors inside the Baroness house. Then, without even turning, he calls out the spies hiding in the shadows. He orders them out, specifically giving Adrian a very important part to play. Over at the Clay Mansion, the gossip mill is in full swing. Everyone is talking about Lady Marianne, withdrawing from the prince consort selection. She was basically the favorite. The Baroness is thrilled, seeing this as the perfect opening for her daughter. She is already imagining her daughter with the prince, finally getting revenge on the arrogant nobles. Right after that, she decides the next banquet will be the ultimate stage for her daughter. But her scheming is cut short when Adrian suddenly appears. The Baroness freezes, completely stunned by how incredibly handsome this man is. He walks up with total confidence, asking for a private word together. She is totally caught off guard. All she can do is stare at this gorgeous stranger. Sitting next to Adrian, the Baroness feels like she is in a dream. She loves the attention, barely believing this handsome man is at her party. She asks if he attended the Royal Academy. When he says yes, she asks if he met the royals. Adrian casually replies that he has. He even mentions seeing Prince Theo often during their school days. The Baroness immediately starts taking mental notes. She needs her house to look royal, then asks about the prince's eating habits. Adrian asks with a smile if she plans on hosting him. She gets flustered. He reassures her, saying he knows how hard royal cooking can be. Then, he offers to introduce his personal merchant. Apparently, this secret trader only deals in rare, high-end imported goods. The Baroness. Shocked and excited, she demands to meet this merchant immediately. Adrian leads her to a small, quiet cottage for the meeting. She is unimpressed by the humble building. But then, two people step out and introduce themselves as Louis Vuitton and Chanel. Of course, it is just Selina and Ajin. Our guy gives her a warm welcome. Selina adds that her timing is absolutely perfect. The Baroness is suspicious, wondering if this is a scam. Ajin shows her a dessert called Tang Hulu, calling it a trend for foreign nobles. She looks at the shiny fruit and takes a hesitant bite. Instantly, her worries disappear. That crisp sugar shell shatters with a satisfying crunch, unleashing a wave of tangy juice across her palate. Sweetness and acidity, a perfect match. She is completely floored by the flavor, silently admitting that these people are truly top-tier merchants. Seeing her hooked, Ajin smoothly pivots the conversation to a new topic. He mentions a rumor that she just landed the legendary plant of immortality. The Baroness is stunned. But our boy doubles down, calling it the chickpea of eternal youth, a miracle snack that stops aging and boosts health. It even wards off pesky things like hair loss and health issues. Hooked, the Baroness demands to buy the entire stock immediately. Ajin claims they are already reserved, but Adrian suggests that for a regular customer, they might make an exception. Our boy plays coy. He claims the current batch is actually a gift for the prince from another client. The panicked Baroness asks if that rival has a daughter. When our boy confirms it, total panic. She realizes her rival is trying to buy the prince's heart with this rare treat. Desperate, she offers to pay 10 times the usual price. Ajin acts noble, claiming money isn't everything in their trade. He declares their shop is guided by truth, love, health, and most importantly, peace. Selina barely holds back a sigh at his acting, while the Baroness feels ashamed of her own greed. Adrian steps in. He suggests that true compassion means helping those in the greatest need right now. The Baroness is moved, while our boy reluctantly agrees to let the chickpeas go for a hefty price. Before she leaves, Ajin drops a heavy warning about a crucial precaution. These beans supposedly hold the mana of the great fire chicken, the divine ancestor of all poultry. Therefore, anyone eating them must strictly avoid all chicken-related foods or face some pretty terrifying reversed effects. Think rapid aging, sickness, and baldness. It is all a lie, but she is absolutely horrified. Giving up fried chicken is torture, but losing her youthful looks, that is a fate far worse. She takes the beans and swears to follow every single restriction. Adrian jokes about old men chasing vitality, and our boy mocks the silly superstition right back. The Baroness nervously laughs along, calling the fire chicken obsession totally old-fashioned. Later at the clinic, the plan is a success and Pop is safe. Tyr is overwhelmed with relief, thanking our boy for saving her friend. We'll drag each image frame and we drag each image frame in, to make the images run a drag drop into CapCut. And similarly with the audio file, we also drag like that all audio. I guarantee that all audio and images and videos are all created by me. So after I've dragged the audio and images, I will have a version like this. I will insert effects into each frame to create visual appeal for viewers. Finally, I will review the video one more time to see if there are any parts